And we are live coming to you from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Got friend of the show, friend of mine, Brandon, Bobbles and Ball Cards. Welcome back to the show. What's up, Lou Rock TV? And we're ongoing story like I got tonight. My title is I Will Wait and See Part 2. I think some of my friends thought I was going to go ballistic on all of this because how I feel about PSA. But like we were talking before, it's a wait and see. But I wanted to bring Bobbles on for one reason. He's a no hidden fact, a very well known bulk submitter with SGC. And he has some people that bulk submits with him that have some strong thoughts about PSA and why they do SGC. And he was the first person that popped to mind when all this was going. When I woke up and heard the news, because I go to bed, I've been working first shift, so I've been going to bed early. So, I mean, I know you've done said this on your channel, Carlos, who knows where else, but first thoughts. What was your first thoughts?
It's funny because you mentioned going to bed. I was literally laid down. So rewind a little bit. I knew I had gotten word that there was going to be an acquisition of SGC prior in the evening. Someone had messaged me, and they didn't tell me who. They were like, and it wasn't anyone with SGC. It was actually someone in that's associated with a different company and not PSA either. But they had heard the news and they messaged me. And I was like, oh, my first thought right off the jump, Fanatics. Fanatics is done. They done what they wanted. They got SGC. And I'll be quite honest with you. I think many people in the hobby would have expected that and might have even been okay with that if that was the move. Me personally, I was thinking, oh crap, how am I going to play this? Because I've been vocal about not liking what Fanatics is doing for the hobby. I think Fanatics sucks. I think they're screwing the hobby more than they're helping. And so I was like, this is going to be awkward. I don't do many videos, much anymore, but the ones I have been vocal about Fanatics. That was my first thought. And then it was like 11:02, I think. And I get a message, and like I put my phone on that sleep mode thing, so at 10:30 it shuts notifications off. But all this, I was actually still on my phone looking at things, and it just started like getting notifications. I was like, "What in the heck's going on?" And that's when the Rovell post was shared out and everything. And Neo, actually, of all people, the history there, he sends me an invite. He just like throws a link. Doesn't even say anything. Just pops the link in there and throws an invite for me to come on over his. So. I was on there. I didn't get to bed till like 2 a.m. that night. But anyway, my initial thoughts versus my thoughts today are a bit different. Obviously, I was shocked when I seen who it was that acquired them. That was not on my bingo card. I did not expect that to be the move that was made. I also had heard that the move was made to block Fanatics. And so my initial thinking was, okay, this was a smart move by collectors because they just blocked the bully in the room, Fanatics. And then, they're also now controlling their biggest competitor. So they wiped out who would have been, potentially even more competition for them if Fanatics had taken it. And then I was like, oh, well, they control now their second, the biggest competitor, and they literally could just wipe them out. And I think that's where a lot of people's focus is right now. And, that's the initial thought. I said it, in my live. I think people are commenting from emotion. I actually talked to James this evening. And I told him the same thing. I think a lot of it is the unexpected reaction and the emotional reaction because And I had a great conversation with my rep. Um, you know, he was like, ask me any questions, concerns, whatever. And I was like, well, did you guys think about the implications of your support system being very against PSA and the optics of what this looks like? And he's like, yes, that was a consideration. And he's like, unfortunately, we know some people will just be in the camp of, I don't want my money going anywhere close to that company. And he's right. But that's also a side of where, and as we were discussing, I think collectors has to also take that as consideration, because if they were to, if it has to, they have to figure out which is more profitable for them. This is all a business move. This isn't a,
Exactly.
oh, you know, even though Lamine James says Nat Turner did it because he was bored. This is all business. And if they seen that SGC was taking a chunk from their ultra modern market, well, then what better way to get paid for that or get rewarded for that? Oh, just buy them, right? And now you're getting all the earnings. But they're going to have to figure out which is more profitable, eliminating them and losing those customers that will not use PSA, which I think is a big number. The SEC growth came a lot from PSA screw ups. And so they would have to figure out keeping them the way they are, letting them do their thing, letting them give them money and let them build. Like maybe they can grow even more. That's the part that people are forgetting. They've grown a lot and they could grow more with some of that collector support, the technology and the financing and all of that. So they could actually build upon what they've already done. But it is going to take time. They're going to have to shake the cobwebs of the initial reaction, the concerns over the slab. Are they going to go away? There's lots of legitimate questions that are there that nobody knows the answer to until time has passed.
Right.
And, me and my rep said the same thing. He's like, he assured me that right now nothing is changing. Um, no pricing, no pricing is changing, no memberships changing, no people in the offices is changing. Nothing is changing. But he did say, we can't predict 5 years from now. And that's true. And I was talking to James and it got me thinking, it wasn't but maybe 5 years ago that Beckett was the leader. It might just been a little bit over 5 years.
Yeah, it was.
But it wasn't that long ago. Beckett was the leading grading company. And now they are the company that everybody would most expect to likely just go poof. So things do change. And
Right.
whether it's by choice or by business moves or whatever, 5 years is a pretty lengthy time, and things in this hobby do adjust around pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Well, because I brought it up on my Saturday chat. I didn't watch much on it because I didn't want to hear a lot of negativity. I was getting that enough in my group chat. Well, I mean, I agree with some of what the concerns are. I think everybody has concerns, no matter what bright side that you bring. I think, like I
mhm,
said before, you're looking at this in a great way, and I'm waiting to see. I want them to give me a reason, not only to leave but to stay. Right, and their reason to stay is not changed. I love the short
right,
term around. They're you can still make a little bit of money if you want to sell some SGC and customer service. I mean, they haven't changed any of that, and I'm in a wait and see mode. And I did a PSA rant last week, and then it's just funny that this happened because everybody thought I was going to do another one, but it's not. It's not along the same lines. And so far, we can only take people at face value. And I'm with you, but there is in my mind logically, like I was saying, buying two of things, having two of people, having two of this, because they're not shy on wanting to expand. Collectors is not, because we got to make sure we keep this separated. B. Roth was very conscious of making sure this that Collectors owns PSA. It's not PSA.
Mm-hmm.
But Collectors had not hidden the fact that they want to grow PSA in different parts of the country and around the world. And Florida was on their map of places to move to have a location. So spending a few $100 million to already have a group in Florida that is ready to go, you kind of got to sit there and go, huh?
So I mean, they just did the New Jersey office, so
right.
I don't know what benefit having two East Coast offices would have. I heard, and this is where I think that people were just chatting with emotion.
We know the Northeast is really heavy in the hobby. I mean, it's just a lot of people, small area.
So you look at it as much as I'm against PSA, I have to give them credit. You know, they dug themselves out of a big hole. Their turnaround, from what I'm hearing, you know, for the ultra modern stuff anyway, has been pretty quick as of late. They have, you know, reduced their prices to an extent, you know, back to reality a bit. But I was hearing people say, well, the SGC, they could be the vintage. And I was thinking, do you know the complexity? Like, this hobby wants things so simplified. Right. And if you say, well, if you're sending cards from this range to this range, you got to send them here. And this range to this range, you send them here. People ain't going to do that. They're going to get confused as heck.
And yeah, I hear you somewhat on that. But it's kind of what but I think they're going to do partially locations across the country to try to cut down on their time, right? So I hear you, and I agree with you to a certain extent.
I think the other thing is,
and let's face it, come on, Bobbles. The thing with SGC being a pre-war vintage company is that's a thing of the past. That's not a now thing. That's
what I was going to say too.
Carlos,
I've been pretty heavily open and vocal, and I know some of your viewers are deeper into that area than others, but the vintage market isn't like, it's still there. There's still collectors, you know, and it will sustain there, but it is changing. We're seeing a period because folks are getting older. There's folks passing away. There's more cards hitting the open market, you know, and the younger collector base just isn't as engulfed in or intrigued by it as we are. You know, when we were younger, we looked in Beckett magazine and we seen Mickey Mantle's name there, or we heard about the Honus Wagner, and it was selling for these huge numbers. Today, you can go look and CJ Stroud's selling for 6 figures or 5 figures or whatever. So it's like that attraction in that awe of the value and everything of the old cards isn't necessarily the same. So what's up, Carlos?
Hey, Carlos. Good evening.
What's going on?
We're not quite to the KSA thing, but we're going to get to that in a minute.
that was the exciting news. I led off the live stream with that. I knew that's what everybody was talking about.
That was funny.
It was very exciting.
That was a curveball, and that was funny.
As soon as I saw it, literally, Eric is like, "We got to start with that." It's like, dude, I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Yeah, to make light of this, because this situation, I know you love it because from the content God's view, where the sky's falling. I'm with Brendan here, where it's not. I don't feel that. Even I don't feel that way, right?
It got a little cloudy.
Yeah, the dramatic
cloudy, that's all.
Yeah, there's no for entertainment purposes. There's plenty of dramaticness. There's always a lot of dramaticness.
Right.
It gave me a chance to slander the coaster makers again, because as all these things always eventually come back to slandering the coaster makers. But the reality is that the wait and see, I think, is a fair approach, and I think
yes, sir, Zach.
That's right. I think the way I presented it, just for simplicity, I think the way I presented it is that from a collector standpoint, if you take the business, put your business hat on, from a business standpoint, there is literally no harm, with the caveat, because I had to mention it multiple times in the live stream. I go, here's the caveat. If they get bored of it or they don't like what's going on with it, they can always do the PSA Florida thing if they want to. That option is on the table at all times. That's fine.
Right.
But what's the harm in trying for a little while and testing this? Because you can test it and see, because my theory is the majority of the hobby doesn't pay attention to the news and has no idea. It could be owned by Satan, and the majority of them wouldn't pay attention.
As soon as you said that, I was like, you're right. You're 100% right.
So there's a really good chance. What if, hypothetically, what if they just say, okay, let's just let it ride for a little bit and see what happens? GemRate has its data. It had 150,000 a couple months ago, 140,000 for SGC this past month. What if next month, with this scandalous thing, it's like 115,000? PSA will go like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Because Mike O always says there's the small amount of people that are into this hobby like we are, where we're watching YouTube, we're watching the news to it, is so small that you're exactly right. Most people probably won't even be a blip on their radar.
Yeah.
That's
why I threw it out. I said, what happens if they let it ride a couple of months? They go back and look at it and go, okay, so what if it settles in at like 100K a month, give or take? And they know that if they rolled them out in PSA, to Brandon's point, the likelihood is most of those SGC, we don't want anything to do with PSA, we love the Tux, those people would not submit to PSA. They just go to somewhere else, or they go to One Touches or whatever.
Right.
Or what if it turns out the number, like that core base that just likes the Tux and just like it doesn't, we don't care who owns it as long as we get our Tux. What if it's like 100,000? Well, then collectors is like, okay, well, that's easy money in our pocket. That's okay. So what do you guys want to do? It's like, all right, put a barcode on the label there, spruce it up a little bit, add a couple of things to the app, and then as you were, Pete,
let it roll.
It's like you're collecting money for us anyway. We get an extra 100,000 cards every month under our collector's umbrella, and we get to pocket the cash. Cool, man. Enjoy the Tux. Have a good time, guys. See you later.
Or not even, maybe not even pocket the cash, but let them use the money to do something with,
That's why I gave you two things you could do really relatively cheaply. Adding a barcode to the thing, because they have the SGC app. If they take the what they already have with their PSA app, you add a little barcode to the front of it. They already have the database with pictures. So you scan the barcode the same way you can with the PSA app today. It shows you your SGC slab. Boom. You made the app a little bit better. That's relatively cheap. You've already done this. And then just put the barcode on it. Do a couple of tweaks. I'm not talking about overhaul. I'm not talking about throw hundreds of millions of dollars of extra investment into it. But do small things that can improve the experience just a little bit. And otherwise, just see what happens. And if you're still making money, leave it be. Take the profit.
Zach's bringing up, and I think the national is going to be where we know if they're still running everything.
Yeah. Next month is going to be based on what was already submitted. So you're going to have a time delay. Next month won't be impacted.
But I mean, Brendan has been there he's been a national. He sees how SGC sets up. They're out in the middle of the whole show. They're not like PSA over in a corner just counting their dollars. Let's see if they do that again this year. Front and center, really out there and amongst the crowd or not.
Well, I mean, they've been going to shows all around the country. Yeah, I mean, they've been putting themselves out there. But speaking on the numbers thing, so one thing that I am more curious about, because when you look at the overall numbers, PSA has a much more sizable advantage. In fact, if you look at the overall number, SGC is not 2 because you have CGC who is capable of the TCG stuff. But the number that stands out to me, and I kind of shared this in the Discord, look at the sports and that angle. And since that's what most everybody in here is focused on, like for the month of February, PSA and SGC did 852,000 cards, where Beckett and CGC did 46,000. That is a huge difference, combining those two in the sports market versus the other two competitors. Like that's a boat race. Like there's no, so even if some of the SGC folks said, screw PSA, SGC sold us out, we're going to CGC. that number's still going to be massively split.
Yeah.
So in the TCG, SGC doesn't make that much of a
Well,
dent,
see that
but
when and even when you're saying they could take out their competition. Let's be real. SGC, PSA has no competition. Everybody else is playing for whatever is falling out of their pockets. I'll take that.
I also think when it comes to competition, you got to remember, just do the math. So whenever you want to think about this, always go back to business first, because Collectors isn't a charity; they're business. Even if you say, "Oh, take out your competition," it's like, so we're going to spend how much money to take out our competition?
Right.
There are better ways to try to undermine them. Look, and one of the other ones that's thrown out there is like, "Oh, as a way of blocking Fanatics from grading." I don't put it past Collectors thinking about that, but that can't be the only reason. Removing your competition can't be the but if that's the case, then they're idiots, because it's not going to work. You didn't take Fanatics out of the game.
No, you didn't take them out, but getting SGC compared to
you didn't even slow them down, Scott. It doesn't matter. You didn't even slow them down. Fanatics has more money than Collectors can throw at it. They can literally start a building tomorrow, walk over to the SGC guy, go take a look at what Fanatics is doing with Panini, and they already have the licenses coming. And just because they're impatient, they were screwing with Panini. Do you have any idea how? Okay, go ahead, Collectors, buy it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to your SGC senior grader. I'm going to offer you 4 times what they're paying you. I'm going to steal their people. I've already done it. If Michael Rubin wants to take it, all you did was like buy yourself a couple months. So you spent hundreds of millions of dollars to save you what, 90 days? If Fanatics likely wants to at least consider, but they have enough money to do it anyway, with or without SGC. SGC doesn't matter that much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you have a starting point if you already buy a company, and they could have kept it SGC.
You can buy another company, and the problem is, a Fanatics owned SGC is that Fanatics is not exactly ingratiating themselves to the hobby either. So it's not you're trading one evil empire for another.
I agree 100%. My friend Wesker Griff, who I really wanted on here tonight, all of our friend, he is really down, because not just the purchase, but it's more of big corporations coming in, where it was like a candy company, and it still kind of felt that way, but we've really changed here in the last few years. And what's up, man, Jeannie?
That's part of it. Like I like I said, I was going to be in an awkward spot if it was Fanatics that bought SGC, because I have blistered Fanatics. I've not made shyness of my dislike for them and what they've done in their initial stages of taking over Tops and everything. And it was going to put me in a weird spot, because how do I sit here and pretend? Because y'all know me, I'm not a BSer. I can't, I'm not going to lie about things. And it would have been hard for me to say, oh yes, let's use SGC, who is now ran and owned and all of that. Now with the PSA dislike, at least it's not PSA controlling the company, but Fanatics would have been controlling SGC, and so I don't know.
We got this little kid that just joined us
to message me. He was one of the first ones to message me the other night.
Yeah, well, when I think SGC, there's few names that pop into my head right away. So
as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh, I got to talk to Bobbles." Oh, and my man,
that's actually a good fear, I have to say, because I seen a post, and I'll leave the name anonymous.
Well, we know Peter's behind you in that room back there.
Somebody else is their biggest was their biggest supporter when nobody gave a hoot is how I'll keep it. Was a post on Instagram.
Right.
I've talked to Bobbles a little bit. So has anybody reached out to you, Mike, with concerns or any in this development?
Nothing specific. We see some stuff in the group chat that we're involved in.
Well, I'm talking about with the few of us that grade through your bulk submission that you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's one guy who grades every now and then who's, losing his mind, but
yeah, we got him off the ledge this past
nothing specific. I mean, when it happened, go down Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So
Thursday morning.
I mean, it's just been a whirlwind of being busy kind of in that time, but I do have, well, I have a few orders that people are sending in to me because I'm planning on dropping an order off at the Philly show. I don't plan on changing anything with that.
Which would be our first order through the new PSA.
Yeah. Damn, I got to submit with those sons of bitches again.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I talked to Brad. I first thing I did, I messaged him on Wednesday night, and I go, I know you're asleep right now, but tomorrow we're gonna have words. That's the first thing I said to him. And then on Thursday he goes, call me when you're ready. When you're up.
So
He's
and
up
he did message Brandon, right, and welcomed him on the team, right? Now that y'all are partners, is that what he said to you?
Well, first thing I did is as soon as he called, I said, hey, so is this SGC Canada? just needed to double check.
Me at 4:38 a.m. Thursday morning, which apparently for Brad that was 5:38. So
yeah, they're an hour ahead where they are.
It must have been as soon as he woke up.
In Nova Scotia?
It was just a simple text, #teammates.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Nice. So we're talking about a guy that pretty much runs or is PSA Canada.
Yeah, well, it was called PSA Canada before, but now it's been under collectors for a little bit. So when Brad does stuff, he is under the collectors umbrella.
What's going on, Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, I just got that order back. Obviously, I did the reveal the day when I do that reveal Friday, I think, and then I shipped something off just within the last week too, so they didn't even log that. So I mean, hopefully, I'm hoping it gets logged on Monday. I hope this isn't a situation like I've run into in the past where it takes weeks.
You had
probably like Thursday, something like that. Wednesday,
you
Thursday.
had some oddball stuff that didn't get capsulated, right? Bigger stuff. So do we have a feeling that they weren't making purchases for?
Well, that I knew they weren't going to do.
Because I know when there's something like that.
Well, I knew some of this stuff that I sent would take a lot of research and stuff, and especially like Michael, who sent some of he always sends a lot of awesome stuff, like
which is Jared.
There were post-it notes after post-it notes about references to stuff. Like what I don't understand is these two here that weren't done,
right?
Because I had about 6 or 7 others from the same set, so I reached out. They said they were looking into it. Hopefully, I hear back, Monday, Tuesday. Obviously, I know they have a lot of things going on. Me?
Yeah. There you go.
PSA hat.
With the red shirt, he's got the mixture going on.
Yeah, he's
And then this one, I don't know. There's not a lot of these slab. This is like a really rare piece, but usually, I mean, they have the identification on the back. So, I mean, I have other stuff that was slabbed in big slabs. So I highly doubt like those were the last few big slabs they had or something like that. But, it is more labor intensive to do those. They've flat out told me in the past, like they're doing it. They'll do it. And obviously they want the business, but they're not like thrilled when you're sending in the big crazy stuff. Cause it's
pain. SGC will be at the Philly show next weekend. It'll be set up at
them. And I believe, I don't know if I got to look in to see if PSA is for sure. The last few Philly shows, PSA's been there. Like they've had a representative, but they've only been taking.
SGC setting up. PSA is going to be there,
but they've only been doing like PSA DNA submissions. I think they were doing. They were sending people from the Jersey office since it's right down the street, right. And they were accepting PSA DNA submissions.
Hey,
I don't think they were accepting PSA. And I'm hoping Beckett's there. I got to look in because Beckett is the worst. Like, which obviously everyone knows at this point. Like, they are clearly a distant fourth. Like, anyone who doesn't like, they're closer to fifth than fourth.
Where's Eric?
Than third. They just they're brutal. You can't contact them. I've sent them so many emails. They don't have a phone number on their freaking website because I got these. I got these mislabeled things, and like I just want to get them fixed. Like, and I can't. They never answered me. So if they're there. Which
I did like the way they list the stuff they did for you, but if
it's great, except that they got the wrong freaking things on too. They goofed those up.
Right.
So
Carlos is smiling as a memory.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
look,
Beckett, yeah.
Beckett has issues with its own research department. They don't know Sandy Koufax is. They don't know who Beckett Mantle is. The struggle is real. Struggle is real. Like, they need some work.
So I just let's put this to bed. This we tucked it in. It's gone. SGC. We can't. It's all speculative. And like I said, I like to think of the guy from SGC lost it to Nat Turner in a high stakes Texas Hold'em game. That's my story, and that's what I'm sticking with.
So there was one thing I want to comment on because I did see
Go
this
ahead.
post. I don't remember who.
You're right,
I
Orlando.
don't remember if it was on Facebook or what, but it was a comment somewhere. And I think the biggest concern is if SGC gets abolished or whatever, then what do people do with all the slabs? Okay. But there was somebody that made the comment, and this was not me. I'm not taking credit for this. They said people like SGC's been around for so long that people are still going to know who they are. It's still a relevant graded card. And so if you bought the card, and even if you wanted it into, God forbid you used PSA after, if this scenario was to happen, it's still a legitimate graded card, and it gives you, maybe it doesn't cross exact, but it gives you an idea of what the grade of the card is, and it still has value to it. It's not just like if SGC was to go away, the SGC slabs or go to zero, because that wouldn't be the case. So, I think that's the biggest concern is the confidence level in the future of the slabs, but they're still SGC graded cards no matter what. I mean,
think,
the top two most expensive are SGC sales.
I think pre-war and vintage will definitely be okay. I would worry about more of the modern stuff because I think there's enough collectors that have been around a long time that have been collecting SGC that actually understand. Like, there's a lot of people in the hobby who don't understand, like, the last 5 or 10 years of hobby history, let alone 25 years. So I would worry about some of that, but a lot of the low end stuff is
started in 2020,
tough,
right?
Tough at this point anyway. So I don't know how big of a deal that is, but I don't know. It's interesting. There's obviously so many videos out there, and everyone's got opinions and stuff like that. But it's just the reality is nobody really knows anything. We can theorize all we want. And there's cases for everything. Like, there's cases for PSA should do this or they should do that, and it's just And then you got the people who are cheerleaders on one way or that just make stuff up, or that are some people are anti SGC, and it's like they're looking at it as a failure. It's like, well, no, they sold it for big money. Like, I don't.
Yeah, they didn't sell it for pennies on a dollar.
Has anybody heard a number? Because I heard Scott and Carlos both say hundreds of million, and I haven't heard any.
Well, I said closer to 800. Scott has added a couple multiples to it. So usually what you do is you can estimate what the revenue is annually, and then you would put a multiple on that. That's usually how you would do it. So look at how much they were grading, look at the minimum cost that they would be making in each one of those grades, multiply it by the number of months, put a small multiplier on it, and that's how you can reach 9 figures.
I seen 150 million to 200 million, but it's private sale, right? So it's, I don't know. I'm sure it's a public document somewhere.
You'll be able to tell Brandon if Dave Foreman takes you to like steak dinner or lobster and steak dinner, like depending on what kind of bottle service he gets when you guys have converse next, that'll really tell you how much money it was.
Yeah. All I'll say, and those that know the history of the company, if he got 100 million, he did very, very, very well. Because I don't know what he gave when he acquired it after it was going to be abolished from Certified Collectible Group. But the company was like legitimately going to be gone away. We're talking about SGC being wiped. It was going to be wiped away before, and he was the savior of it. So I don't even know if he had to pay for it or if he just said, "Hey, let me take it and make it its own thing." So
he gave a half scale bagel.
Yeah, I mean, but if he got 100 million, props to him. mean,
Yeah.
he's flipping companies, not cards.
Yeah.
He's flipping.
I don't
companies.
blame him for taking the money at this point. I don't think he was necessarily. I think there were a few interested parties, but as soon as you get it at 9 figures, he's owned the company for a long time. He cashed out and made his money. Walk away.
So there's been a lot of talk of people in different groups and everything kind of getting out, or at least talking about not grading as much. And I've been one. I have kind of slowed down a little bit, and I kind of have slowed down, being more selective. Brandon has talked about, going back and having fun like when we were kids. It's funny. My dad asked that question this week to me. Does anybody collect just to have fun?
Absolutely not.
It doesn't feel that way. It's always
listen. The Josh Rosen Super PC. I'm very serious about this.
Yeah,
this
and that's the thing. I think most of my friends do have fun with it, but when he's talking about is, do you care? Like, do you have to put it in a piece of plastic inside of a plastic, encased in another plastic?
Hells yes.
So it's like, and always value. He watches from afar, doesn't speak much. He doesn't. It's very confusing to him when we talk about it. But that was his question. I've been asking people, and I do think, thank you, Hodges. I do think most of the people I watch and I talk to do collect for fun. We just do it differently now as adults. We've evolved and want to take care of our stuff.
Well, just as the hobbies evolved and it's a little pricier, it's a little easier to just
Well, that's what I told them. We're not paying.
Buy a pack and have fun with it when it's 75 cents. When it's $75, it's like, all right, well, we'll be a little more careful with it.
Exactly, autos and all this other stuff. So it's a little different. But are any of y'all gonna change your hobbying ways? I mean, does any of this change anything, or are we still in a wait and see? Sure, man, Genie.
Listen, I know for me, I think it's going to reduce. I think it's going to reduce the amount of SGC cards that I send in for submission from 0 to 0. I think it's going to have a major difference. It's going to be crazy.
Right. But you do submit with PSA.
Yep.
So that won't change.
It's going to be business as usual. It's
right.
the SGC thing. I'm in the camp where I've never been a fan of the Tux, but I have no qualifications about buying an SGC card. If there's a card that I want, an SGC holder, I have zero issue. So in my collection, I've definitely got them, but I've never submitted anything to SGC for grading. The PSA thing, it's very specific things for specific purposes. It's got to be a reason why I'm doing it. That's the thing. I'll submit it if it makes sense. If there's no reason to, then, but it doesn't change a damn thing. Yeah. If I see a card I want and it's in the SGC holder, I might ask for an extra discount. Hey, listen, I don't know. I don't know, guys.
PSA for you, right? I mean, because for me, I'm kind of being more selective. In SGC, I've been doing a few sets that really look good in SGC's holder. And for things
1966 Batman.
66 Batman. In CGC, I've been doing non-sports. But I was just wondering and curious. That was my first question, I know my next question, I watched the video on the way to work yesterday. And term again, the hobby.
Doesn't sound safe unless you're taking the train.
I was driving. I have a third eye. It's more I listened to a video on the way to work. The term Hobbies did, we talked about it before with Carlos.
Trying to kill it.
It's a personal. It's a
clickbait
term. If the Hobbies did, it means you're having a bad time with it, not necessarily.
I think if someone's saying the hobby's dead, they're full of shit and they're looking for attention, because I don't see where that's coming from. Every show I've been to has been very active. Every show I see people talking about, very active. Is there more retail sitting on the shelves? Sure, but they're getting way more. It's still moving. Obviously, people are very excited about 2024 Topps. Obviously, people are very engaged about the whole graded stuff. So I don't understand where any of this is coming from. There's definitely a lot of youth in the hobby. There's a lot of younger people excited. in different ways.
True, man. Genie.
So like it's like an irrelevant conversation.
Right. I
I
don't.
don't.
Find,
I mean, I
think-
haven't watched any of the videos, but like, I don't understand what they're talking about. Like,
Yeah. To me, it's
yeah, of course, the
personal.
economy's not perfect, so some people are having to make decisions and maybe not, buying cards 7 days a week. But like, it's just it's
Right.
kind of silly. I mean,
So-
maybe I'm wrong, but
Isn't the excitement though? Because you brought up something that I was going to get to. The excitement for Series 1. It's not just because it's Series 1 in base cards. It's the kickoff card of the year.
yeah, well, it's baseball season and it's new
Yeah.
rookies and it's guys' first cards and some of it can
Speaking
be
of, I was
regional.
excited about first cards.
Well, now
First
you get
card.
one of one
the
first
card
cards that
the
aren't
ones that are
labeled
not
first
labeled.
cards.
First cards. I
Yeah.
just enjoyed the Freudian slip of Mike saying first cards. Like, what coincidence? I do look forward to first cards. I agree.
I feel like, when I heard that, I was like, again, the same person was talking about the excitement of it. I think they're missing what are people excited about? Not necessarily the card itself, but it's a kickoff to the season. It was a big party. They did another Ripp Party, invited celebrities all over the country. I don't quite understand that, but I guess it worked well for them.
I mean, Series 1 has a little bit of everything. Like, there are some legitimate huge hits you can get. Like, if you hit, like, one of those clear of one of the top 3 rookies, you're talking about a multi-$1,000 card. And, of course, there's
Right.
one-of-ones and all that kind of stuff. But it's, like, that's the most collected set of the year. And that brings a ton of people in it. People who like to open it. People who like to build sets. People who like to build the insert sets. Team collectors, player collectors. Like, there's a
Player
reason to make a ton of it. Yeah, you got people on there, buying all the Pete Alonsos they can get, stuff like that. So it's going to generate excitement. Like, if you're only into like the biggest of hits or super high end product, of course, maybe you're not as worried about it. But I mean, I don't know. I didn't mean to interrupt your thoughts with a mini rant. It wasn't quite the rant. It wasn't quite, your
no bullshit.
dropping 7 to 8 bullshits in a video where
I'm
I
sorry
thought you
you're
were
all
done
funny
after
on
2.
that.
But
Such distasteful things, Scott. Distasteful.
Yeah, when I hear those things, I'm like, first you got to explain where you're coming from and actually define what you're talking about. It's like value. Value means so different to so many different people. Or time, how much time it takes. All this.
I mean, it's certainly not. It's not 2020 where so many people were. The thing is about 2020 and the whole boom. It wasn't just because there's money flowing in and all that kind of stuff, and people had time. There were so many people popping into the hobby that were either being reintroduced or introduced for the first time that had literally no knowledge. Like, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So people were able to take advantage of them. / they were just going wild. When you get into something, you might go crazy. Like right now, you're going crazy buying every Pete Alonso card from 2024 Tops you can.
I'm not going crazy.
Doesn't mean you're not interested, but in 6 months, you'll be distracted with other stuff. You'll still, on occasion, look for them, but some of the rare cards, it's probably going to take you a couple years to get. Like, at that moment, at that time, people were buying everything. So you could sell anything and everything. So, yeah, it was easy money to just sell. It's obviously a lot more work now. It's a little tougher. Some people have fallen off and aren't involved. Some people are just, they got to stretch their money more. And some people are just, quite honestly, a little wiser at this point in just a couple years and going, okay, I don't need to buy, the top 20 rookies this year when 10 of them will be out of the league in 3 years. They'll be like, oh, I'll just buy these 3 or 4 rookies maybe.
Yeah,
That's
I got
kind
four rookies from you. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say, to rewind to the previous, but then tie it over here, you mentioned how I, had done a video talking about my adjustment, so to speak, in the hobby. And I actually have bought more cards this year already than I did last year. Right. So my adjustment wasn't in a negative sense of like leaving the hobby. It was, Mike said, during the boom period, there was I was selling stupid Prism basketball cards for enormous, excessive amounts. and that opened up, funds to buy things that were just out of character for me. Like I wouldn't have spent that much money on certain cards or whatever, just because that isn't how I've ever collected in it. And so when I reflected back on all that, I was like, that was a period that was created based on opportunity, but that's not where I was having the most fun. And I
Right.
wanted to get back to, like Mike's a big Phillies guy, Carlos is a Medano guy, you're an Alonso guy. I wanted to get back to the players, the teams, maybe a specific set that I like, that sort of thing, instead of just, okay, trying to chase everything, try to chase every color of the rainbow out there or whatever. And that just made it too difficult. And if you simplify it and just go for the things that mean something to you and that you truly, truly enjoy, it's a lot easier. But it was easy to like be squirrels running everywhere and just chase everything during that period, because there was so much, people were spending dumb money on players that I don't even know if they're in the leagues anymore. And so it was just like opportunity was created because of the chaos. So I just rewound back to the what I enjoyed, and I'm having a hell of a lot more fun now because I'm back to the things that I ignored during that period, but that actually means the most to me, so to speak.
Right. So Orlando brings up a great point, statement, whatever. Back to collecting basics, and I love that statement, Orlando. Actually, because I think a lot of people are going to that. It doesn't matter if you're collecting pre-war, vintage, modern, ultra modern, whatever label. We all collect, right? Whatever we're collecting, and I think this is a thing that a lot of people are going to. I talked to the original Midlife Card Crisis, Dave, quite a bit, and he's back to getting his 5 stars of all of his rookie guys in different uniforms. Bought a beautiful Will Clark in an Orioles uniform, right, Mike? Crazy.
Will
And
the
I think
Thrill, the Baltimore Oriole.
right. And for me, I've been talking and stressing on a budget. So he sent me a 5-star Pete Alonso, beautiful card for $43, a great auto, numbered to 49, but I already spent my budget. So I'm staying tight and had to walk away from it. So I think that is the basics and things that I think what how you explained it, how Orlando put it out there. We all collect differently, and I think it's a great thing. Listening to it, Carlos buying up all the Mandanos. I've learned more about '90s hockey. You purchasing the Medanos.
That's what works for that player collection. Whenever anybody asks
Right,
me about '90s hockeys, I can go to the Zfolio because he was in almost every set that was relevant at the time.
right.
The insert sets and stuff. So it's like, yeah, it was that this year. They had these parallels. That's what it was. So you got an index of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's battery. And if you want to see a beautiful how somebody does presenting cards in a great format, go check out his videos. He's got a great scanning system. I don't put in very knowledgeable about his cards. Tells great stories behind them.
I
Yeah,
don't
Real
follow
quick,
the
since
current hockey sets, but like, do they have legends in those? Like, are there current day of Medano cards?
Crap ton. Crap ton.
I was just
There
wondering
were
if
more
they
pools
have
playing through
anything.
Bananas
Is there
than there were
stuff like
pre.
Panini where there's like 57 parallels of them, or no? Or are they a little more tame?
Opeachy Platinum has that. That's the one that does it, but they refrain from the legends in that set. But
Okay.
they'll put them in other stuff. They'll put them in the cup. They'll put them in Ultimate. They'll put them in those other ones.
the higher
I
end
I,
stuff.
I know someone at Upper Deck who sends me pictures just to make me mad.
Yeah,
since I
that
know a lot of people in here go to shows, just real quick, because this was actually probably my first pickup, I think, after I did that video, and it was shocking that I found this. But if folks are out at shows and you happen to find the autographed version of the Michael Taylor 2014 Bowman Chrome Superfact, please let me know. I will pay you a finder's fee because I have hunted for it for
30%.
7 years now, and I found the non-auto, but I have not found the
He will
autograph.
give you 1,000,000 shares of SGC PSA stock, which you may have access to after the meeting with Dave Foreman.
If anybody sees it, please let me know, because I was shocked I found that one, but I still have yet to find the auto. So
Now, was he a Boston Bruin?
who?
Michael Taylor?
No, he's currently a free agent.
Yeah, no,
he's an SB signature legend. He's an SB signature legend, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I saw he's still a free agent. Gold Glover, still out on the market.
Well, he's got company there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
I just assumed, Scott, since you were asking so many questions, since so many questions came up about the hockey, I just assumed that you were going to announce that you were going to be opening a case of Series 2 Upper Deck, because that's coming out this next week at the cheap. Listen, just $3,600 will do it, man. $3,600, and you can get like $300 a box, give or take, and you can begin the Bedard chase and pull your one Bedard.
I was going to say, do you even guaranteed one in a case?
You'll get one. You will get one, because you get 6 in a box, 12 boxes in a case. You will get approximately 1.5 on average. So if you buy 2 cases, you'll get 3.
See, I don't understand all that. That whole thing with the 79, the 7980 box.
And how much will that card go for, too?
I would be shocked if it went for even 5. I think the first couple will go for like a silly number, but I think it'll settle in like $350, $400. You will barely make back the cost of the box.
So you should definitely just wait a couple weeks and buy the card.
If you just want the card, you'll probably be all right buying the card. But it's gonna be fun watching people. It's like you realize you're paying $300 for basically the same as Series 1, but with Bedard. That's the only thing we added. Okay.
Yeah.
My unlimited budget.
That $3.7 million case. I that is just unbelievable to me. This whole thing of buying and collecting boxes of cards. I collect cards. I don't collect the thing that it came in. I don't know. It's kind of
Scott, I don't know what you're talking about. Brandon is already committed to having a Ripp Party with the case. Like after the SGC money came in,
I thought it was there.
Ripp Party is going to be. He's just going to open them all up. It's going to be sensational.
A couple of weeks ago, Eric was on your show. I thought it was some wealthy, rich billionaire that wouldn't get out of his bed to do your show.
It's tough. It's tough. At least you bet the odds.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. So the case gives you 72. The math is really easy. You get there's 50 in the checklist. The case would give you 72. You get 6 in a box, 12 boxes per case.
And that's if you don't get any duplicates.
Yeah, but with a case, you should have, generally speaking, historically, you will get 1 complete set of the Young Guns, so you should get at least 1. But more than likely, you'll get 1.
Wow.
That's the way the math will work out.
For 3,000, almost 3.5, 3.6, you said, 1,000?
Yeah, it's like, I think David Adams has it like 35.75 or something like that. It's just shy of, I call it 3,600 to make the math easy.
Now, that is American money, right?
That is American
money. Okay.
That's American money.
Okay.
The Lafreniere year, I opened 2 cases. 1 case I got 1. The other case I got 2. So
yeah,
roughly
so give or take
average.
about 1.5 on average. You open 2 cases, you should get about 3, give or take.
Ed just messaged me telling me again that he's working. I'm like, I know you're working. You told me. I messaged the group. What are you in the back watching? Okay. Get to work. You got to make that money so you can get a hotel room at Cleveland.
And then we can see you for 5 minutes during the National.
Yeah. Yeah, because this whole week has been, I kind of waited a few days to have a video to talk about it. Waking up to it, like I said, I was quiet. I watched Carlos's video first because I knew I'd get all the pertinent information right there, short, sweet, and to the point.
As you
I
should.
think I felt like I was watching Carlos's video, but I think I was watching a Neo video where Carlos, you were on there.
So that was the live stream. So
Yeah,
I
it was
did my
live.
video. So basically
Because you were saying you
Wednesday-
were recording it. Did you record the video before that?
So basically, I'll give you the short version. So Wednesday night we get this information. I actually recorded a video, but then as I'm finishing recording the video, I'm checking out the Discord that Brandon and I are on, and then fucking Neo has gone live and he's losing his mind. You know, he's and he's literally like, "Does anybody want in on this?" And I'm sitting there like, "Well, did you praise the content gods?" I go, "As long as you praise the content." So he messages me and I get the link, and then obviously Brandon gets the link as well. So I go on there and I do the live stream with him. But by the time I'm done the live stream, I've devil's advocated for keeping the other one before Pete and all of them said they were going to keep the brand separate. I was doing devil's advocate for that exact idea, but then I go, well, I'm going to have to re-record my fucking video. So I finished that, and then the wee hours of the morning, I recorded the video a second time. So the version you got was after I had done that live stream.
Right. So I watched that one, and then because in our group chat, one of the names came up was Brian B. Roth because he does a lot with SGC.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all kind of talking about how he's feeling. He actually, he's always a bright side of the, of the story. So that wasn't, I didn't agree with everything, but at least he's very, upbeat about it. I like that. So that's
I mean, when the news breaks, of course, you're going to have that immediate reaction because it's like, oh, and there's still a lot of uncertainty. They can say what they want. Who knows? I mean,
well, let's be.
So, we'll see.
Peter's not in the room anymore when decisions are made. I got that feeling. I don't have a feel. He's no longer in the room, so he's probably being told what to say, and that's okay. I mean, I feel like that they're probably very on edge there at SGC, and I hope everything works out for everyone, and we all are happy customers at the end of the day.
Did they reach out to you, Mike? Because I'll tell you, the weirdest day was Thursday, because all day long I was expecting first thing in the morning to get a text message or a call or whatever, say, hey, be available. We got, nothing. And then I had recorded a video and literally sat down. I was typing out the description of it and my phone rang. And I was like, that's some crazy timing, because all I had to do was finish that up and hit upload and that video would have been up. And it was basically just, I don't really know what's going on, but here's my thoughts on it, kind of thing. And then, I talked to our rep and it was like, okay, well, I'm going to scrap that. And that's when I went live, because I was like, well, I'm not going to sit here and re-record a video. I'm just going to go live. And if there's questions, but, you mentioned that Pete's not going to be in the room anymore. The one thing I was told is everybody is staying the same. Like, all of the positions and stuff are the same, but they do have to get clearance, I guess, on certain things before they can make it publicized or whatever from collectors. So that was part of the reason it was so late in the day that anybody was being reached out to, is because like things had to be finalized or whatever, and clearances had to be given to do the reach out and all that. So I was like, well, I guess that makes a little bit of sense. Changes. There we go. Things have changed slightly. We have to wait for clearance now.
I would honestly, like, in all seriousness, I would honestly look at SGC the way it works with SGCP. I would look at him right now as a division head. At the moment, it's his job to operate as kind of a head of a specific group, and then he still has to get approval from head office when he does certain things. But he's going to have his own budget for now. Again, for now, things can change, but he'll have his own budget. He'll have his own thing he's allowed to do within that mandate. If he goes beyond the mandate, then he has to run it up the chain. That's usually how you run a division. You have a certain amount of latitude to do. You can do X, Y, Z. But if you go outside of X, Y, Z, then you need to run it up.
So in the past year, they ran specials for Topps and Bowman. And me and Mike were talking about, well, Topps didn't have a special with Topps Series 1. We were surprised with that. So, maybe hopefully they continue to do some specials and stuff, and that's the wait and see point.
They didn't do it for the Bowman release prior to Series 1 either, I don't believe. And you have to think they are kind of slipping on turnaround time right now. So it wouldn't have been the best scenario to offer people to send in probably one of the highest printed products at a special. And those specials were also Fanatics like partnered or whatever. So it wasn't just like SGC saying, hey, we're going to let y'all do it $9. That was a Fanatics deal thing. So if this was a move to block those boys, yeah, you probably won't see them anymore.
Right. And that's why I'm smiling, because but that's where I'm at with this. I am not in a bad place with this. We all have choices. I mean, there was a time I didn't grade at all. I thought it was a farce. I still kind of feel like it's a farce, but it's fun to do. But I'm not going to, like I said in a video, I'd rather buy a card than spend a lot on grading. It's just I have to spend my hobby money smartly. So with that being said, anybody have any closing thoughts or before we head out?
Just have to wait and see.
Yeah, wait and see.
I mean, that's where you're at. Like, there's nothing we can really control. So,
no,
I mean, to me, like, I personally, at this point, I hope they just keep it the way they're saying and have the multiple brands. I don't see a real benefit in them basically going away. It's just one less option for collectors.
Right.
But, you know, we'll see. It's got to be whatever makes sense for collectors, obviously. That's where they're going to make the decision. I don't know, depending on how much they paid. Like, everyone's like, oh, they can have this extra hub. And, like, because how much market share are they going to gain? The total market share was, what, 7% or whatever the heck they said? I mean,
that's what I said. It's minimal.
Their share of, I'm sure, baseball, their share of vintage baseball, some of that would be skewed in SGC's favor because they're counting everything. Like, if you're going sports, I got to assume SGC is far ahead at CGC. CGC does really well with the non-sports stuff. That's like the majority of their grading. Like, I just, because if they just say, all right, we're doing away with SGC, like, it's a 7%, but you're going to have certain percentage of those people who grade that are loyalists to SGC that aren't going to want to do PSA. You have certain people who are just doing it from budget/time perspective that are just going to happily go to CGC or, you know, whoever else comes along or, you know, whatever that offers cheap prices. Like, and you're going to have a certain percentage of people who maybe do get disgusted and say, you know what, I'm just not going to grade. I don't need the grade, or I'm going to grade far less. So I don't know how much they gain by making them go away. The brand name is worth something. Again, they're not, you know, one of these grading companies that just showed up 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. They've been around for a couple decades. They have legitimate, you know, top sales of all time. So they do have something different to offer. And I can't remember where it was. I was listening to a video, and so I have no idea if this is accurate, but they were basically talking about that if you go back 5, 6 years ago, like what SGC does in business now is basically what PSA was doing 5, 6 years. Like, PSA was not, like, grading has just blown up exponentially in the last 5, 6 years, obviously. So PSA just continues to dominate. And this is on sports cards, not, you know, counting all their coin businesses and stuff like that. So there is room for growth. There is a value to the SGC company, but we'll see how they see it. We will find out more, I'm sure, in the next 6 months, year, 2 years. Who knows?
I think that last point is the key for me, is that the way it different, because some folks try to do the comparison. They say, well, it's not like those other things. It's like, well, yeah, but SGC literally has decades of equity in the brand. So the thing is, that's why I said earlier, start off thinking business first. There is no harm in trying it for a little bit to see if maybe the market doesn't care as much as the people who react to it initially think it does. Maybe they're willing to still patronize an SGC regardless of who owns it. And if that's the case, why would you throw away that revenue stream you still have, because you remove it, you get rid of a brand that's been sitting there millions of slabs already with that other brand on there. You're just going scorched earth on an entire segment of folks that have a lot of stuff already invested in those slabs. It might not necessarily be a good long-term play. That's what I said. You want to block fanatics? That's a way of blocking them, but you only slowed them down. You put a speed bump in front of them. Like, that's about all you did. And if it's about removing competitors, 7% market share, really, that doesn't move the needle for you either. So that's spending a lot of money for very little gain, and you're not going to get all that market share if you take them out of the game.
So I have one question for everybody here on last final thoughts. The folks who are just FGC sold out, oh, I hate them, oh, I'm not using them anymore, yada yada, I'm not sending any money to collectors kind of thing. Who benefits most outside of that group? Is it Beckett, CGC, Ultra Pro? Like, who benefits the most in that group?
We're not counting the content creator who gets the cackle, right? Because I totally am the big winner. Just to be clear, I'm the biggest winner.
I think the problem is, like, CGC, they have beautiful slabs and it works great. Obviously, they're very well respected, or people love them for the TCG stuff. I think they're decent for modern, and vintage cards look nice in their slabs, but CGC gets so little respect, secondary market value, that really hurts them. And Beckett is dog shit for vintage cards. So it's like,
you could have just stopped.
That's the problem.
You could have just stopped the dog shit. It's fine.
Well, you can make that case, of course, but like, it's bad, really bad for vintage. So it is interesting. Like, I feel like vintage, you just go, and there's a lot of guys like this that just love the raw vintage anyway, but it might trend a little bit more that way to a degree. So
we're going to end it on that. Thank all you guys coming on. Hopefully we can just wait, watch, and see what the content guides provide for Carlos, and have a good time with it. And hopefully I think, Carlos said it well, and Mike always says it's just a small percentage that actually watches this stuff, knows what's going on in the hobby. Probably 99% of the people that grade and stuff have no idea that this is even going on. It's probably going to be, or even care. Yeah. So until next time, like, share, tell a friend, and we'll see ya.